Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy Academy. The Egyptian president was the chief guest for our Republic Day. So there were questions about how is Egypt a very important partner for India and why not USA's president and not the Russian president was invited for the Republic Day function and why only Egyptian president. So in this video, we will try to understand some of the important pointers for which Egypt is very important for India. So let's talk about this. So we know in our ancient history we have studied something called as Indus Valley Civilization, and when we talked about Indus Valley Civilization, we also said that the Indus Valley Civilization was the contemporary to Egyptian and the Mesopotamian civilization. So which means the relationship between India and Egypt dates back to the age of around 3200 BC. So which means the Egypt and India share a very strategic relationship, not only from now on, from the oldest civilization. We can see the India, which is the home of Indus Valley civilization, and the Egypt, which was the home of the Egyptian civilization, share the relationship from ancient times. And where does it stop? It doesn't stop even for 2023, but the relationship continues and a very specific phase starts during the time of non-alignment movement. Okay, non-alignment movement from the ancient times to the post-independence, that is non-alignment movement, which was crafted by the first Prime Minister of India, that is Jawaharlal Nehru. From oldest civilizations to the non-alignment movement, the relationship between India and the Egypt goes on. You can see here, the first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, was a very close friend of Abdul Nasser, and it is said that these two were called as the pillars of non-alignment movement. From 2014, when the current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, took over, from 2014, we had the then External Affairs Minister, Sushma Swaraj, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who had very close relationships with Egypt. When we see the opinion of Egypt, when we talk about terrorism, the Indian policymakers feel that Egyptian president or the Egypt is the very close friend of India in the African country, and Egypt plays a very important role in countering terrorism. And when we talk about the common opinion that India and the Egypt share, okay, and both the India and Egypt are very well connected or very well affected, and they share a common opinion regard to the terrorism. The third point, if you look at, is the inflation, the economic situation that Egypt is going through now. We can see here the inflation in Egypt is around 21%. Okay, so in the economics, you would have studied what is inflation. See, the gradual rise in the market price of goods and services is called as inflation. And India is battling with the inflation of around 6% or 6.5% or 7% to be maximum. But you can see here, the inflation in Egypt is 21%. Because of the high inflation, the purchasing power of the economy or the purchasing power of the currency will reduce. This will result in the depletion of the foreign exchange reserves if at all the economy is import dependent. Okay, if the economy is net importer like India, the depreciating currency or the reduction in the purchasing power of that particular currency will result in reduction of the foreign exchange reserves, which is not desirable, which any of the economy doesn't like this to happen. The fourth one, this is happening. The inflation has increased because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Because these two countries, Russia and the Ukraine, almost supply 85 to 90% of the food grains to Egypt. When Russia and Ukraine are having a battle, and as Russia invaded Ukraine almost a year before, from then on, the food inflation has risen in Egypt. And India can be a saver here, as India has surplus with respect to agricultural products, and India can export agricultural products to Egypt so that we can strengthen our relationship. Next thing, that Egypt plays a very crucial role for the strategic and the geopolitical situation for India is because of the Chinese bilateral trade. We can say here, the Indian bilateral trade with respect to Egypt is $7.26 billion, whereas the Chinese trade is around $15 billion, which is almost double. Okay, almost double. We know that what happened with respect to India and China in the Tawang recently, and what happened with respect to India and China in Pangong So and also Doklam. So China is of the opinion that China should only be the regional power in Asia. In this scenario, in order to counter this Chinese influence, strengthening relationships between India and Egypt is very crucial. The last point, if you can see here, Egypt controls a choke point which connects Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, that is the Suez Canal. The 12% of the global trade passes through this narrow choke point that is called as Suez Canal. So if India is having a very close relationship with Egypt, probably India can take leverage of this Suez Canal to boost its trade so that India can reach a mark of $5 trillion economy in very near future. Thanks a lot. If you have liked the video, consider subscribing to the Legacy IAS YouTube channel. Have a nice day. Thank you.